Hi folks, good to be with you. Don't forget my website's jasonburnspreacher.com. You can get me on Facebook and Twitter. Hey, it's good to be with you all. Love you all. Thanks for all your support. I'm getting a lot of support at the moment, so thank you very much. Thanks to all the guys from Holland that came down. We had a great time, brilliant time over the last 3 days. Absolutely brilliant, so thank you very much. Well, guess what I've got here? Ijaz Ahmed, who is a well-known Muslim apologist. I've heard rumours told by other minor apologists that he's the up-and-coming Shabir Ali. Well, look what we've got here. The Pathfinder teams respond to Ijaz Ahmed on J. Ijaz Ahmed has been a naughty boy, because he's been telling everybody that the Pathfinder's team and Jay Smith did not respond to Ijaz Ahmed's 53 pages. And what have we got here? A document that was written in response to Ijaz Ahmed. So this Muslim apologist has been going around saying things that are not true and ad hominem attack upon Jay Smith and his team, and we have the documentation here to prove it. He said that this document had not been produced. Here is the document. Now this is what Ijaz Ahmed said. The New Testament manuscripts record is in a poor state, which has led to the Judeo-Christian world to doubt the veracity and authenticity of the New Testament scripture, page 5. This is almost laughable, says the Pathfinder team. As Ryland Professor F.F. Bruce wrote, whilst still a classical scholar before he moved to biblical studies, the evidence for our New Testament writings is ever so much greater, says Bruce, than the evidence for many writings of classical authors, the authenticity of which no one dreams of questioning. If the New Testament were a collection of secular writings, their authenticity would generally be regarded as beyond all doubt. It is a curious fact that, quote, historians have often been much readier to trust the New Testament records than have many theologians. The New Testament's documents, are they reliable? Page 15. Bruce continues, page 16-17. There are in excess about 5,000 manuscripts of the New Testament. In whole or in part, perhaps we can appreciate how wealthy the New Testament is in manuscript attestation if we compare the textual material for other ancient historical works. For Caesar's Gallic War, composed between 58 to 50 BC, there are several extant MSs, but only 9 or 10 are good, and the oldest is some hundreds of years later than Caesar's day. Of the 142 books of the Roman history of Livy, 59 BC to AD 17, only 35 survive. These are known to us from no more than 20 MS of any consequence, only one of which, and that containing fragments of the book 3 to 6, is as old as the 4th century. Of the 14 books of the history of Tacitus, AD 100, only 4.5 survive. Of the 16 books of his Annals, 10 survive in full and 2 in part. The text of these extant portions of his two great historical works depend entirely on 2 MS, one of the 9th century and one of the 11th. The extant MS of his minor works, Dialogue de Oratribus and Agricola Germania, all descend from a codex of the 10th century. The history of Thucydides, 460 to 400 BC, is known to us from 8 MS, the earliest belonging AD 900, and a few papyrus scraps belong to about the beginning of the Christian era. The same is true of the history of Herodotus, 488 to 2428 BC, yet no classical scholar, says Bruce, would listen to an argument that the authenticity of Herodotus or Thucydides is in doubt because the earliest MS of which are of any use to us are over 1,300 years later than the originals. So from secular point of view, the secular writings, like sometimes we have books written by ancient historians 1,000 years later, the first copy, and modern historians today don't doubt that we have that authentic book. Yet the New Testament, it's like within a few hundred years we have tons of manuscripts, and then as it gathers within like 300 to 400 years we have thousands of manuscripts, and yet secular writers doubt the authenticity of the New Testament, when if they applied the same criteria to the New Testament that they do to secular writings, there would be absolutely no doubt whatsoever that we have the New Testament. I find this funny. I find this really funny. Here, challenge 2. This is what Ijaz writes. I just find this hilarious. While Western scholars have demanded a similar critical study of the Quran's manuscript tradition, they fail to recognize that Muslims have been practicing these sorts of stringent critical studies since 7th century revelation. In fact, the identity of Muslim copyists and scribes of the Quran have been known to Muslims for centuries, as they employed the science of Rijal al-Hadith, Mustalah al-Hadith, the science of evaluating the characters of the scribes and transmitters, the Jar wa Tadil. Due to this, Muslims can list the identities of a significant number of Quranic scribes during the prophetic time. Page 5. Now, the team responded. J. Smith's team responded, but I'm going to respond with my own research. Come on, bro, Ijaz. Let's just deconstruct this. Your first real historical source is Ibn Ishaq, which you yourself and others say is not very reliable, but it's your earliest source, but yet you say it's not reliable. I use it in arguments because it is your earliest source, but there's some serious issues that we need to ask about Ibn Ishaq. So then that's a problem. Then you've got the problem with your hadiths. Bukhari came 200 years after Muhammad, and after that we only get the first volume in the 11th century. And there are 9 volumes of Bukhari, and it's like 700 to 800 years before we get the 9 volumes after Muhammad. So the historical sources are really not there in anything like the New Testament to back up a critical analysis of the text of the Quran in terms of its historical veracity. In other words, the historical information that would back up the Quranic manuscripts. Secondly, we have serious issues with the way that the Muslims have done history. For example, Uthman burnt the Quran, so evidence was taken out that we needed to examine. Bukhari got rid of tens of thousands of hadiths. So what we're seeing here is political manipulation of the historical data. So on terms of textual criticism, which is the specific point here about copyists, the chain of narration, saying that you can verify the scribes, the chain of narrations, we can show quite clearly that many of these chains of narration are fabrications, and that they have liars within the midst of the chain of narrators. So you can't back up this idea that you can name the scribes who've done the copying of the Quran, etc. Then you have the Shia and the Sunni interpretation, so there are political manipulation going on in the understanding of the historical data. And we're not even started yet, bro. I'm not even started on you, mate. What else can we say? Textual criticism. Tabari did textual criticism of the Quran. Your classical Islamic scholars did, but if you read the Cambridge Companion to the Quran, there's been no modern textual critical edition of the Quran. In fact, there never has been a textual critical edition of the Quran. So you're not even in the same league as Western scholars when it comes to biblical studies. So I think you're pretty much blown out of the water with this video, mate. You've been exposed as a liar, saying that this has not been produced when it has. They responded to you, and you've been shown to be totally inadequate as a scholar, because I've just blown you away with a bit of critical analysis of one of your own statements, mate. And Ijaz Ahmed has given, the Pathfinder team have given you a very succinct and detailed analysis of your paper, and to be honest, a lot of the information in there just blows you away, mate. So it seems to me that you're kind of like the wolf in Red Riding Hood, you know. You're coming in and you're kind of pretending to be something that you're not. And anyhow, you've been exposed, bro. So take care, mate. God bless you. Don't listen to Ijaz Ahmed. He's not the up and coming great scholar that he thinks he is. He just needs to realise that he needs to do a bit more scholarship before he starts to really engage with people. Alright, I've heard stories that he likes to pick and choose his debaters, that he's not willing to just debate people, and he did agree to me that he would debate me, and then he chickened out of it and said he was not well. So I gave him the opportunity and I said, okay, you're not well, I respect that. But then he turns up on a debate with Jay Smith for about 15 minutes, and from time to time he pops up in these little video chats and things. So he's ran away from me in debate. He won't debate me on the textual criticism of the Quran. And young Muslims, you need to ask yourself why. Why won't Ijaz Ahmed debate me on the textual criticism of the Quran? I tell you why, guys and girls. Because he knows he can't answer the questions. I challenge him right now to take the challenge of this video. When I made my response to his challenge 2, while Western scholars have demanded similar critical study of the Quran manuscript, they failed to recognize that Muslims have been practicing these sorts of stringent critical studies since 7th century revelation. I challenge him to debunk what I've just said in this video, and I guarantee that he's not equipped in a scholarly way to deal even with just a few comments that I've made, because this guy is connected to Blogging Theology and Yahya Snow, and they're more interested in causing drama rather than actually getting into scholarly information. Some of these apologists actually form people's churches up and try to get Christian apologists in trouble, rather than actually stop all this kind of drama behind the backstages and get involved in solid critical analysis and scholarly debate. God bless you.